Hi everybody, it's Marie at Read, Create, Repeat Homeschool, and today I kind of want to do a bit of a different video. It's not about books, but it's about parenting, and I realize there are not as many parents on BookTube or on YouTube as non-parents, probably because we don't have as much time or we don't feel like we have as much time. So I wanted to kind of share things that I've picked up over the years. Obviously, my kids are not super old. My oldest is 8, my middle will be 6 next month, and my youngest will be 2 in December. But I feel like I've learned something, so I thought I would share. I heard a couple of little comments on a couple of videos lately, and I just thought, I feel like we should encourage each other. And yeah, so here's my advice. As anything, take it or leave it. This is just my own experience. You do you. That's what you can do best. So first thing I learned, I probably heard when my youngest was maybe a couple months old, and it was at a mom's meeting, and she said, we all have about 18 seasons of each with our kids. So 18 falls, 18 springs, 18 summers, and 18 winters. Now, I know that's not guaranteed because sometimes people travel or do different internships and the like, but basically it means you really have to be intentional with the time that you have. My husband and I have a chart of where we want to go on vacation basically until our kids turn 18 because time flies really fast, and if you don't plan it and you don't be intentional about what you do with it, all your falls are gone with them, all your springs are gone. And while that sounds overwhelming, it can be a really cool thing to think about. So I just recognize that, yeah, I only get 18 falls, so I'm going to jump in the leaves as much as I can. Secondly is something I've learned recently, and it's don't get on the roller coaster with your kid. Not the literal roller coaster. Those you totally can do if your stomach can handle it. I mean the emotional roller coaster when they're throwing fits and you don't know what sense they're making. You don't have to get on it. I'm a very empathetic person, and so for a very long time I would just be crazy with them, and it doesn't serve anybody. They need somebody to calm them down. And so if you just look at it as that person's going on a roller coaster, and you can sit down and watch for them and wait for them to calm down to your level, and you can kind of calm them down a little bit and talk some sense. But if you get on that roller coaster, you're just going to go on a very long ride of crazy, and you don't need to do that to yourself. Thirdly, say yes as much as possible. This one I try and do. Obviously, I'm not perfect at it, but say yes to the little things because they're going to hear a lot of no's in their life. And say yes in your own personal life so they see you saying yes. I think that's a great example of living as a good example for your kids. So yeah, if they want to make cookies, maybe don't do it every day, but yeah, say yes. It might take longer, and there'll be flour everywhere, and it won't be exactly perfect, but they learned something, hopefully. And they learned that you experience things, and that's how you get better at stuff. So number 4 is every stage passes. Now this one's kind of a good and bad thing. It means that in those couple of months where your kid feels like a perfect angel and you're like, oh, we have reached nirvana. These children are getting it. They're being kind. They're being generous. Know that that passes, and they will become a selfish brat probably in the next month or so. However, when they are having those couple months of crazy and you don't know what they're talking about and why this demon has infested your child and made them into a monster, you can say, this too shall pass, and maybe next month they will be the kind, generous child that you want to see. Just be consistent, hold your breath, survive until the next stage, because it all goes the way. Potty training, I know it was awful, and we're doing it again, but it's going to pass, and then it'll be done, and you'll have something else to deal with. Number 5 is fill your life with games, reading aloud, making things, whether it's crafts or baking or making a mud puddle outside. Just do things with your kids. Cuddle as long as you can, because that doesn't last, although my kids are pretty big cuddlers still, and I'm pretty lucky on that. But try and form those things, turn off the screens, and do things together. Sometimes I think it's really important, more than we know. Next, there is no such thing as a perfect parent. My mom told me this, and I am so thankful, because I think she was pretty close to perfect parent. My husband's still like, come on, there's no such thing. I'm like, no, my mom is pretty awesome. There is no such thing as perfect parents, and even if there were, we wouldn't want them. We wouldn't have anything to get better from. We wouldn't have anything to learn from. And every parent needs to be different for their child. So you do you the best you can. And it might not be exactly right all the time. That's okay. That falls into the next one, which is apologize and ask for help when you screw up. As a parent, you will screw up. That's totally fine. However, our kids learn a lot when they see us apologize for losing our temper or asking for help with stopping texting while you're driving. Yes, I've been bad and I've gotten better. But if you ask your kids to keep you accountable over things, they will, and they will appreciate that they are a team and they get to contribute. So it's okay to do that. Next, fair does not mean equal all the time. I grew up with 2 siblings, so I understand that it's frustrating to be a sibling sometime, and I know that my kids probably are frustrated sometimes having siblings being treated differently too. That's part of life. But I like the analogy of everybody needs to have their needs met. And some people, if you're shorter, you might need a bigger step stool. That's okay. It doesn't mean you're worse. It just means you need a different treatment. Whereas, somebody else who's really tall might not need any step stool at all. So as a parent, don't feel badly about treating your kids differently. Just try and treat them as individuals and give them each what they need. And I think it also kind of plays in the future. My siblings and I are not jealous of each other. I don't really know exactly how my parents pull that off, but we are happy when the other person gets something, whether that means they're getting something more from my parents or not. And I think that's because they didn't treat us equally, and that was okay. So we were a team, and that's good. Nextly, is nextly a word? I don't know. It is now. Be good to yourself. This comes into play a lot, especially I think with women, where we are very hard on ourselves. We feel like we should be prettier, we should be smarter, we should be doing all the things for all the people, and you don't have to do that. Sometimes it's okay to sit down on the couch and read a book when the kitchen is a disaster. At least that's what I've been telling myself. So no, be good to you. And I think your kids realize that if you treat yourself well, that they realize you're important, and that when they're older, they can also do the same for themselves. If you are constantly attending to everybody's needs, you're not teaching them a good lesson. You're teaching them to let other people take care of them all the time and not to look around at what other people might need. So don't feel guilty about self-care. It's a necessity, and if you don't do it, it will be bad. Trust me, I know that one too. Finally, if you do have a partner, prioritize them. Hopefully you will be together long after kids leave. I'm hoping that's the case for me. And it's been fun to see my parents kind of go through that and get to have even better relationship now that we're out of the house. But yeah, prioritize your partner. I always tell my kids, I want you guys to be able to leave your kids someday for somebody that you care about. And grandma will watch them. And I think that's really cool for them to see. It's good to see them watch us communicate, and sometimes we do it well and sometimes we don't, but they know that we care about each other and that we fight for our relationship, and I think that's important. So if you can do that, I think you'll be good. So those are the 10 things that I've learned thus far from being a parent. They are by no means perfect lessons, but I think if you do even a couple of them, you'll do pretty well. So thanks so much for indulging me as I kind of share some of my passions about being a parent. It is a hard thing to do, but it is so much fun sometimes too. So talk to you guys later. Bye.